Stories are literally everywhere, right? From the biggest blockbuster movies to the news feeds you scroll through, and even the stories we tell ourselves about our own lives. But what if I told you that a lot of these narratives aren't just told, they're actually generated by a hidden set of rules? Well, today, we're pulling back the curtain on the invisible engine that shapes our world, narrative mechanics.
There's this great concept from a communications theorist, Walter R. Fisher. He called us Homo narrans, the storytelling human. His whole point was that deep down we're all storytellers. It's just how we're wired. We use stories to make sense of everything, to connect the dots, and to figure out what actually matters. It's pretty much how we build our entire reality.
But the way we experience stories is changing, big time. We've gone from just passively listening to tales around a campfire to actually jumping in and becoming part of them, especially in places like video games. So let's dive in and take a look at how the rules of these new stories are written.
And that brings us to our key term for today, narrative mechanics. Now, the best way to think about this is that these aren't the plot points, the what happens next. No, they are the underlying engine of the story. They're the rules and the systems that allow a narrative to unfold, often in really unpredictable ways, all based on what you, the user, actually do. It's what makes a story truly interactive.
Okay, let's make this real. A game like Grand Theft Auto is the perfect example. See, there are two kinds of stories happening in the exact same world. On one hand, you have the linear story, the 58 missions the developers wrote for you. But on the other hand, you can just ignore all of that. The game's mechanics, its rules, let you steal any car, drive anywhere, and create your very own emergent story. It's your own personal tale of chaos and ridiculous stunts. Same world, but two totally different story engines running at the same time.
Some games take this idea and just run with it. They use really unique mechanics to build these incredibly powerful narratives, sometimes without a single word of dialogue. So let's peek into their toolbox and see a few different ways they do it.
Take a game like Far Lone Sails. It just starts in total silence. You're this tiny, anonymous figure in this huge, empty, dried-up world. You see hints of what might have happened, a grave, an abandoned house, but you get zero explanation. The only real mechanic is to keep this bizarre landship of yours moving forward. The story is the journey, and the game trusts you to fill in all the blanks.
And this is such a brilliant move, isn't it? The game uses ambiguity as its main narrative mechanic. It doesn't give you answers, it gives you questions, which forces your own imagination to become part of the story's engine. So what do you think happened in this world? Whatever you decide, well, that becomes the story.
Then you've got a game like Braid. On the surface, it feels super familiar. It's using a classic formula we all know: you're the hero and you've got to save the princess. But the core mechanic, your ability to manipulate time, slowly starts to reveal this second, much darker layer to the whole thing. It completely turns that classic fairy tale on its head.
The game is actually using your expectations of a hero story as a mechanic to mislead you. It's a setup. And in the end, it makes you question everything you've done, your role, your motivations. It's a powerful narrative gut punch, and it's only possible because of those interactive rules.
And for something completely out of left field, there's Feed the Head. I mean, there's no text, no goal, just this weird, floating head that you can interact with in bizarre ways. The narrative mechanic here is just pure, surreal discovery. It's a story told entirely through a kind of dream logic and seeing what surprising thing happens next.
Okay, so this is where we zoom out, because this whole concept really explodes beyond the screen. The idea of narrative mechanics isn't just for video games. It's an incredibly powerful lens for understanding how stories get built and sometimes even weaponized out in the real world.
Just look at this. It's fascinating. You have the exact same physical object, a wall, being used as the core symbol in two completely opposite political narratives. Ronald Reagan used the Berlin Wall to build a story about opening up, about freedom and connection. Years later, Donald Trump used the idea of a border wall to build a story about closing off, about protection and division. The symbol is the same, but the narrative mechanics, the rules of the story being told, are completely inverted.
Let's take another example, one you probably use every day: social media. A lot of us use platforms like Twitter without ever realizing we're basically playing a game with a very specific set of rules. The platform's design isn't neutral at all. Its narrative mechanics are built to shape how we talk to each other, and they often do that by favoring conflict. So here's how that game loop works. The character limit forces you to make a short, strong assertion. Then you get rewarded with likes and retweets from your community, which feels good, right? That's the validation.
But that same assertion acts as a challenge to other groups, who then reply with their own counter-assertions. And what's the result? Escalation. The conflict itself becomes the engine that drives engagement, because the platform's mechanics are built to reward assertion, not nuanced conversation.
So why is it so important to get a handle on all these hidden rules? Well, because being able to see them is a fundamental skill for navigating the world we live in today. It's really about becoming a better, more critical reader of reality itself.
When you understand narrative mechanics, you stop being just a passive member of the audience. You start to see the systems at play. You can spot the rules of the game when a politician or a marketer or an algorithm is telling you a story. And it really empowers you to see past the surface and analyze the engine underneath, which makes you a much sharper consumer of information.
The stories we swim in every single day, from social media to politics, they all operate on a set of rules. But you know what? So do the personal stories we tell about ourselves. And understanding the mechanics that shape all these narratives gives us the power to analyze them, to question them, and maybe even to rewrite them. Which really just leaves one final question. Who is writing the rules of your story?